Where do you want to start here? You want to start with the Eagles against the Packers, or you want to go back to the Steelers loss?
I actually want to talk about the Steelers. I want to start there because, Dan, I live in central Pennsylvania, right? So where I live now, it's like 50-50 Eagles fan, Steelers. I grew up closer to Philly and grew up as an Eagles fan. I can't remember watching a Pittsburgh Steelers team get beat up physically that badly. Everybody focuses, I feel like, on the quarterback situation. And in fairness, they're in a tough spot there. Like, what's your solution or anybody's solution for the Steelers to get a quarterback that can compete with Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow? Like, it's hard. They're in a tough spot there. But that's a separate issue. Their defense, Dan, this is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, you have Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, you're paying Patrick Queen, you're paying Minkah Fitzpatrick. They have a lot. Alex Highsmith's getting paid. They have a lot of resources invested in that unit. And for the Ravens to have 250 yards rushing with 6 minutes left in the third quarter, 6 minutes left in the third. And by the way, the Ravens have had one Pro Bowl receiver in franchise history, Zay Flowers. He was out for the game. He was not playing in the game. So they don't have by far their best receiver, and you allow the Ravens to run you over like that. It had to be embarrassing for a Steelers fan to watch it. I thought that was one of the most notable, like if you told me best and worst of the weekend, I would say worst of the weekend was watching the Pittsburgh Steelers get run over, around, and through by Derrick Henry and the Ravens.
Well, let's look at what happens in the offseason with the Steelers. You have Russell Wilson. I don't think Mike Tomlin's going anywhere. So what changes do you see with them?
I agree about Tomlin. He's a good coach. I will say, and we probably talked about this last week, there's a gigantic disconnect between how people feel about him nationally and how the locals feel about him because he hasn't won a playoff game in forever. But I would also submit to you, in how many of those playoff games did he have the better quarterback? How many of those playoff games? The problem is, everybody wants him to get somebody better. How are you going to do that? We have to live in the real world. They're not going to draft somebody. They're not going to draft high enough. So who could the Steelers get that's better? Do they take a swing at Aaron Rodgers? Do they go way out of character and try to pay a lot of money for Sam Darnold? I mean, these other guys, they're just not available. To get a top 10 guy, it just doesn't happen. I actually thought Russell Wilson Jr. the third played pretty darn well in the second half of that game and gave them a chance to win. If I'm the Steelers, maybe I have somebody else compete with him, but he's probably your best option to win a bunch of games next year and have a chance to win a playoff game.
But we make it seem like Mike Tomlin's not involved in decisions to get these quarterbacks. Is it just, hey, the front office takes care of this and we're going to get you a quarterback and you'll just make him better? I imagine he's involved, given his tenure with the Steelers. He's involved in who they're bringing in. So there is culpability throughout, the Steelers, including Mike Tomlin, with that.
No question. He's definitely involved because I know he's a big Russell Wilson fan. I actually thought bringing in both Justin Fields and Russell Wilson this offseason was really smart to kind of give you two bites at the apple. They exceeded expectations. I think their season win total was 8.5. So they exceeded expectations. Obviously, they faltered down the stretch. There's no question, Dan, that he's part of picking the quarterback. No doubt about it. But everybody that complained about the Steelers quarterback situation doesn't have a solution. So you want them to try to lose every game for next year and then have the number one pick and take the quarterback next year? Like, they can't trade for somebody that's better than what they have. Those guys aren't getting traded. I don't know. Maybe it'll be Derek Carr. Maybe it's Aaron Rodgers. I don't know what. They're not going to get a top 10 guy. They're going to have to do whatever they can to get the best guy available.